evening, my name's Alex Campbell.
And I'm Mark Palmer.
And you're watching Dissecting Trek. So the basic plot of this story is these artisan, non-technological hermits abduct children from the Enterprise.
Non-technological?
Well, they've got this big shield barrier blocking them from society. It's like this mythological, the lost gold of El Dorado, the lost city of Atlantis type.
Where, like, their ancestors were really technological, but then they lost their way because the computer ended up doing everything for them.
Yeah, the shield's breaking down, and they're like, the ancestors built the shield. We don't know how to do the shield. They're just artists making art.
Yeah.
For the sake of art. But if there's no cultural society, then what is the art commenting on? I mean, if our world was void of everything and it was just art for the sake of art, the art wouldn't be as impactful. Basically, the society is fundamentally flawed, right? That they've lost their fucking way completely, and they steal children.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the first time they stole children that we know of.
No, that's very true. So yeah, the big thing that stuck out to me watching this episode was just like pacing and tension. There was no pace to it. There was no drive. There's no like narrative march or like clocking tick element or tension or suspense.
Yeah.
And like children are abducted.
Well, you're bound to have an episode like that when Wesley's one of the main characters.
Wesley does have some moments in this episode. He wasn't horribly annoying, but I mean, he wasn't compelling or
I'm
interesting.
still kind of wishing that they had taken all the other kids back and left him there.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea of like child abduction is extreme. And I know TNG, like, I'm not watching it for that exciting Tarantino pace or quick cuts in the editing or anything. We're watching it for like the dry, boring dialogue scenes that are really well written. So part of me is like, you know, what do you want from this? But if you're telling a child abduction story, like there needs to be something. The children get abducted and they don't really seem to give a fuck. They're not written like children, they're written like little adults. They're taken away from their parents and they spend like 2 weeks here and they're like, I'm sad.
Yeah,
They'd be going fucking ballistic.
I used to live near the ocean on Zadar 4. My dad's an oceanographer. He says that, well... Never mind. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there was like that one kid who was like, admittedly, they're like, oh, you know, here's something fun to do, you know, let's do this. Oh, cool, I'm having a good time with this, but yeah, it's not gonna, like, I remember when I was a kid and I was away from home for too long, camping or whatever, I used to get fucking homesick hardcore.
Yeah.
You know, and these kids are just like, yeah, whatever, I want money.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, can't.
I have a 5-year-old and like, a meaningless situation will transpire and she'll be tired or she'll be cranky or something and she'll just like lose her shit, like go ballistic and cry and scream and punch and roll. These kids are abducted from their families for like a fortnight and they're just like, I am sad.
Yeah, oh yeah, you know.
The writer didn't know how to write children.
No, which is really flawed in a fucking episode about children.
Yeah, I think the writer was a female too, so presumably she'd know about children.
Maybe she doesn't have kids.
Maybe she should stop fucking writing Star Trek and do the one thing that women are good at, which is fucking raising children and not writing sci-fi, am I right?
Dissecting who does not
Endorse brutal sexism. No, there's plenty of good female sci-fi writers out there.
Yeah. I mean, I did like Patrick Stewart's acting in this one. He did one of his, you know, racist voice, and I was like, yeah.
There was a moment, yeah, where he did his Patrick Stewart thing.
Yeah.
And he wasn't elderly and it made sense.
You have stolen our children away from their classrooms, away from their bedrooms, and you talk about compensation. You claim to be a civilized world, and yet you have just committed an act of utter barbarity.
It was great acting. The Plinkett review for Star Trek Picard came out today.
Oh, I gotta watch that.
Because when we reviewed Picard, right, we went through and we reviewed episode 1 by itself as a standalone episode, then episode 2 and episode 3.
The whole
Yeah, you can go back and review the first episode with the retrospect of what actually happens. And I feel horribly ripped off,
Yeah.
I made 10 reviews. I spent so much time and effort trying to explain to the audience why this show was poorly written. And yeah, just none of the threads that were set up in like the first episode have anything to do with anything. It's all just like random jambled nonsense. It has nothing to do with anything. Like you go back to the first 3 episodes, there's nothing to do with what the fuck happened. Nothing. It is no like clear narrative line of beginning, middle, and end. You know, like a 3-act structure. It's just
that's why it was so shit, Alex.
it's terrible. So this story, I think you can make it better, right, by having a B storyline, because this didn't have a B storyline at all. It was just the main storyline.
You could have had it like they needed to be somewhere. They were just checking this out for a thing, and then the tension was rising as they needed to make the getaway. But we can't leave the kids, So it's like a dilemma.
Urgency. Yeah.
Instead, it's just like I'll push you away for 3 days. You can come back.
Yeah, they're kind of like we should get
all
the
this
children
power.
back.
Oh, we can do all this, but then they're just like, yeah, checkmate, you won. We have all this power, but we couldn't tell you had radiation poisoning.
Yeah, so there's this super advanced technological race that have forgotten about the technology, and their shield has depleted their ozone, so radiation is leaking in. So they're sterile. They can't have kids. That's why they're kidnapping the kids. It's like, this is such a basic level of like scientific understanding. We understood radiation poisoning hundreds of years ago. They're really that dumb.
Well, they're pretty fucking stupid. Like, the computer does everything for them. That was pointed out clearly. Even Wesley's like, these things need maintenance, right?
No, like, I do oil paintings.
But just ask it the question. She literally's like, I don't know, just ask him. What's behind that door? Well, I don't know, just ask the computer. Can't I just open the door? I thought we would have been able to see what was behind that fucking door. It seemed like they put that there so that you would.
What's in there? The power source?
I don't know.
There were a few setups which just didn't amount to anything. There's also a scene where the second chick behind like the main alien guy, she runs in and she grabs one of the children who have been assigned to separate families, and she's like,
she won't allow them to.
Yeah, she's like, this is my
I thought
child.
it was a deleted scene or something. Yeah.
Well, it was a first draft of the script, right, where you go through and like basic story writing 101, setup, payoff. There's like 3 or 4 setups, don't have payoffs, and then you get to the end and it's like, oh, we need to wrap this up. It's like, she didn't go back through and rewrite it.
No.
It's a first draft.
I feel like fucking, if they had him open on the door, it would have just been Danny DeVito with a cigar, like pulling all these fucking strings and shit.
It would have been something very low budget, because they described this huge, massive utopia and we see like 4 rooms, which is, I mean, that's next gen.
Like, thing was fucking huge though when they actually went and looked at it.
But the computer thing.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, our computers are getting smaller, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, I think right at the end, Riker and possibly Data being down to do something with the computer, like have that happen way earlier and have that as the B storyline. So you can have like Picard doing nothing and the rest of them doing nothing. The parents being like, we want our children back, and Picard being like, oh, okay. That could have been more.
And Picard like having to imagine, because Picard doesn't like kids obviously, so you could imagine, say, he doesn't fully understand what the big deal, like obviously the big deal about it, but doesn't understand the same. Like then you have Crusher say explain to him why it's such a big deal.
Have more conflict between the parents of the family and Picard than butting heads, but there wasn't any of that.
No.
And then early on set up Riker and Data down on the planet with a nice tense B storyline. We're like, we need to do this in this amount of time, otherwise this will happen.
If they had been down and the planet wasn't what it seemed, like, and they could find some shit that was like, this is clearly fucked, but they didn't. They just beamed straight to the computer room, basically. And Riker too, he was so excited about that planet, like, and they did nothing to be like, oh, check out our planet. It's just like, here's a room. We need kids.
It's set up as like, this lost city of Atlantis that has all this mythology.
They should have been like trying to, warm to them and say, oh, why didn't we bring some kids down or something, and then just teleport them back. That'd be a way better way to do it, instead of like, kids.
And this is its first and last appearance in all of Trek. It never pops up again. We never mention this race ever again. We haven't heard of them before.
Because it's a shit episode,
It's a type episode you sleep through. It's just not a well-written episode.
That's such a thing to say, You imagine the writer watching this and The single-tiered. You know, it's the kind of episode you sleep through.
I mean, TNG is kind of like that.
I mean, I have. When I first watched it, there was a couple of episodes I did sleep through.
Yeah,
I literally slept through.
I've slept through multiple episodes. You wake up and it's kind of and you're like, we're all good.
Yeah,
What's next?
It's like, did anything interesting happen? And Chris is like, I don't know, I fell asleep too. You know? He's like,
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Where is Chain of Command?
Because like, there are times when you're watching it, like a lot of it, and it's like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then there's like a bunch of episodes in a row which are just shocking. And
Yeah.
that's when you start to get.
Yeah, well, the first and second seasons in particular are a very slow start for next gen. They take a while to figure out how to make the show work. And then even when they do, in like 5, 6, and 7, like there are episodes that suck.
Yeah, but there's a lot more good ones.
Yeah, but it's fine in this like episodic style of storytelling where you have all these individual storylines which don't connect. To have a shit episode, it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, that's a bad one. Let's move on.
Leslie, I'm frightened.
I know you are, Katie. We all are.
Another moment which they could have made into this tension, suspense element too is the children right at the end go on hunger strike. And then,
Yeah, it's just boring. They just sit there at a table not eating.
yeah, like if you're gonna show the children starving to death, show them starving to death.
And the little girl, I'm sorry, but my daughter's not much younger than her. She would have been like, "What? What do you mean? We can't just eat.
What is happening?
Fucking eat."
Why have we been adopted?
You know,
Who are these
if
people?
they want to eat,
Where is my mum?
Yeah, fucking like, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking feed me.
You couldn't convince a 6-year-old to do
But
a
she's just
hunger
like,
strike.
okay.
Yeah, that they're just compliant. They're non-characters.
Yeah.
The moment where the emotion from the episode should have come from, they're all non-characters. The children, the sole MacGuffin that is kidnapped in the storyline, that element of the thing, they're non-characters. They don't emote, they're not emotional, they're non-characters.
It would be cool to be able to go back and like re-execute, like we do these episodes, but like the way in which we feel like they should be done.
Yeah,
That would be
us.
Cool. I don't know about us, but I mean, imagine you're Picard, right? And like you're still bald here, but still got your long hair. You're like Frasier.
Yeah. I could not act. I'm not an actor.
No, but it would be cool to be able to.
It would be interesting. Well, yeah, you outline why the episode doesn't work, and then it's like, well, what could it have done to have worked?
Well, then at the point when you figured out what was wrong with it, it'd be a lot easier to sit down and think about how you could make it work. And that'd be the fun part.
Yeah. It's basically what we're doing now. We're just not filming it. But yeah, have you watched Hunger with Michael Fassbender?
No.
It's this like IRA drama about a hunger strike, and it's fucking brutal and visceral and such a fucking crazy film, man. There's so many like moments.
You can feel how hungry they are.
Yeah, like at the end, Michael Fassbender he starves himself, and his performance is crazy, and what he did to his body is crazy. But even before then, like just the way it's filmed is so visceral and gut wrenching. It's a 17 minute take with Sir Davos Seaworth and Michael Fassbender, where they're having a conversation.
There's the actor's name, and there's Davos.
Sir Davos Seaworth and Magneto, right? Eric Lenscher. I don't know Davos's name.
Old guy.
That guy.
From Game of Thrones, he played Sir Davos.
Yeah, and he was in Hunger. Yeah, it's a 17 minute consecutive take of them talking, and it's slowly panning in, and apparently old Davos moved into Michael Fassbender's house so they could go over it, and it's fucking like, you're watching this. And it's just two people talking. Their acting is completely flawless.
Wow. That's fucking brutal.
But that is not this episode. I'll see if I've got anything else.
I don't think there's much else to say, to be honest.
It wasn't particularly horrible, it wasn't...
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't good.
Okay, kids, let's go home.
Beam them up.
So yeah, no, basically, in conclusion, it felt like a first draft of a script to me. There were all these setups that didn't have payoffs. I think it partially comes down to the director as well, like the pacing and tension, it didn't move. It didn't build to the climax. It dragged, and the children were abducted, but it wasn't even. There was no urgency. There was no urgency about anything.
Even the negotiations could have been like a game of chess. You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
Everyone was like, nah.
No one gave a shit. I think everyone, even the actors, they're like, this is a shit episode. Let's fuck it, whatever.
Yeah. That was every episode of Picard. No one gave a
Oh,
fuck.
that one alright.
Yeah, that episode. Deanna Troy. Alright, guys, thank you for watching. If you guys like subscribing, comments, go to the pack around Alpines Island and Void. Thank you and good night.
Did you see about Boba Fett was announced for Mandalorian Season 2 officially?
I've seen like thumbnails of YouTube videos and I'm like, what is going on? I need to like put this into Google, but then I never put it into Google.
No, he's legit like been casted. Like,
and is it the guy
from the Clone Wars?
Yeah, I've seen the thumbnail and I'm like, is this happening? Is this a thing? And I never researched
It's
it.
an actual thing, like legit.
So Boba Fett is in The Mandalorian Season 2 and it's that New Zealand actor that
would've-
beat the fuck out of his wife in Once for Worries. Let's cut to that scene right now.
You want eggs? We'll have the bloody lot of them!
It's okay, man. Cook the man some fucking eggs.
Do it yourself, Jake!
I mean, I would have preferred. I would have preferred if it was a surprise. Like they built it up as a like shock sort of thing. Build up. Oh, he could be in Season 2, and then it's just they announce it. It's like okay.
There was a season.
Apparently, like, there was a video I saw on YouTube. It was like this is why they had to announce it instead of it being a surprise. But I didn't watch it. I was like, eh.
Yeah, well, Doctor Who's ratings have been falling and falling for a decade, and there was a season where like they just went out of their way to like press and publicity. It's like, this is happening, the Master's coming back, playing by this actor, like all these big deal moments which just completely undercut the reveals in the episode because they're like, hey, can you please watch the show? Can somebody watch this god-awful show? Oh, Doctor Who. They tried.
Apparently, yeah, so Dave Filoni only directed one episode. But apparently there's like, I'm not sure how high is, I'm not as positive about this, but apparently Ahsoka is going to be in it as well. So a live action version of Ahsoka, which is going to be extremely risky because she's a massive fan favorite.
And she'll be old as fuck.
And if Dave Filoni did one episode...
Did she not die in Rebels, at the end of Rebels?
No, she survives all the way past Vader.
She's the one character they didn't kill off.
She, I mean, I didn't see the end of Rebels, I kind of stopped watching, but I know for a fact that she's at the end.
Yeah.
After the rebellion, the Empire fell.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, she was what, 13 at the start of the Clone Wars? So she'd probably be in her 30s, I reckon. Late 30s, early 40s.
I think the gap in between episode 3 and 4 is a lot longer than I think. I think Luke's like 20.
I heard it was 16.
I don't think he's 16, and that would make sense why Ben aged so horribly too. It's not
Yeah,
like
I mean,
16 years, it's like 20. I think Mark Hamill was like 20. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Yeah, I think Mark Hamill was like 23.
That never means anything for the character, though.
Yeah, but I don't think it's meant to be. Yeah, I guess he's a pretty dumb, naive 23-year-old.
Yeah.
But I don't know, he doesn't feel like a 16-year-old to me.
Yeah, but it was the 70s. You know, it's not this. Either way, I just feel like it's a risk, but I feel like if Dave Filoni directed one episode and it happens to be the Ahsoka one, then that will be the one.
I'm sure that will be.
Because Ahsoka is his baby.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense for him to have directed that episode.
But it's just, I don't know how she'd fit in.
How much input has Jon Favreau had in this? He's still the showrunner?
I don't have an answer for that.
Because he's the key. He was the key to making it all function.
I feel like he's probably still a massive part.
Yeah. I mean, if you're Disney, like, what are you doing fast? Season 2.
I didn't watch the gallery episode 2. You've been keeping up with gallery?
I watched episode 2. I haven't watched episode 2.
I watched a YouTube video on Star Wars Theory where they're talking about Dave Filoni's little rant at the end of the episode.
Oh, that was brilliant. I'm like, give him the keys to Lucasfilm. Fuck Kathleen off. He's got it. He's done it.
That's what I mean. I watched it. I'm like, wow, that's like a whole completely different way of viewing it.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it again since, but I feel like when I watch it next, it's going to mean so much more.
Yeah. I've not watched the Clone Wars and I'm not delved in that well, but just the level of like analysis and understanding he has of those characters and the depth, which I'm sure wasn't even in Lucas's head when he bashed out that script. It was just like, good job, sir.
Yeah,
good job.
He keeps on being like, no, it's totally what Lucas was trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, but
Lucas is like his idol.
But I feel like it was, like you said, he didn't think about it that much. But I was like, holy shit, man, you fucking nailed it.
Yeah. I forget what he said, but like...
Just here's my card, just take it.
Yeah. Next president of Lucasfilm. Maybe we'll see. Maybe Jon Favreau.
I don't know. I don't know if Jon Favreau would want to take it, honestly.
I don't know.
He likes doing his other shit too much.
Yeah. Just recently rewatched all the Marvel movies like a television show. Like you watch a television show, it fucking worked really well.
What do you mean like you watch a television show?
Well, how I've watched the Marvel films is I watched Iron Man when it came out in 2008.
Oh, right, whenever they came out.
Yeah. Over the last like 12 years, so, you know, and there were a few movies I'm like, fuck that. And even still, it's kind of like, you know, Ant-Man, it's like the episode next gen you sleep through. You sleep through Ant-Man. But through watching it like a television series, I watch 2 movies every night for like, I don't know, 10 nights or something. Yeah, the depth of that storytelling, and the reason I bring this up is because Jon Favreau, who plays a character in that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it was really good. I actually cried at the end of the last movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Because obviously it has so much more impact because you've been watching them.
Yeah, it's like television, and it really is like a 22 movie television show.
Yeah, it's all connected.
And it was brilliant. It was brilliant. It had its bad movies. Captain America #1
All thanks to Jon Favreau,
balls. Yeah, Jon Favreau did Iron Man 1 and 2.
He created...
And I forgot, because, I don't know, I went through this stage where I got really jaded against those movies.
Yeah.
I got into red letter media and I'm like, fuck comic book movies. Martin Scorsese, Stanley Kubrick, you know? That's not real filmmaking. Real filmmaking is
I feel like
Tarantino.
that really pushes you into a narrow view.
You become an arrogant, like, arsehole. Like, yeah, I don't drink that wine, I drink this wine. This is the wine I drink. That's swill. This is only real man's wine. It's like, they were effective movies to the point where I fucking cried at the end.
Yeah.
And yeah, I became this jaded, cynical arsehole. And there are bad movies, but as a television show, like a 4-season television show,
you can't let the bad take make them good. You're fucking. It's like, I mean, you have watched Clone Wars, but Clone Wars, like, there's a lot of fucking shit in there, but the fucking gems in there, pay off.
Yeah.
You know, and like Dave Filoni obviously was the head of that shit.
Yeah.
And the effort and the thoughts he went into this, you know, what the clones were thinking and so on and so forth. Like, you watched the final arc with me.
Yeah.
How, you know, Rex is like, well, you know, without this war, we wouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
You know, and they're people, you know, like they're clones, but they all have been succumbed to different experiences, so it's changed who they are. So
they've developed through the war.
Yeah, they're different from all the others. So it was really interesting to see that perspective instead of them being just clones.
Yeah, in the films they're just clones. They try to do a thing with Finn. It's like, hey, let's see the perspective of a stormtrooper.
They're not even clones. They could have done that so much better. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them being a black guy. He could have had a black guy, but he should have been a badass. Not a comic relief.
Well, they dropped it. They dropped it in the second film. They dropped it in the third film.
Yeah, but he wasn't even a badass in the first film.
Yeah, well, they were doing like the PTSD thing.
He was a fucking garbage cunt. Like, he was a sanitary guy. Like, why couldn't he be this awesome fucking, like, sniper or something?
Yeah, that could work. Or, like, I'm fine with, like, the opposite, where, like, he's traumatized and he's fucked up.
Well,
but then they placed the seeds and then they didn't water it and died.
I mean, he had the potential to come good. I mean, in Rise of Skywalker, it's the middle.
That's the greatest analogy for the sequel trilogy. Like, episode 7 is, like, fucking JJ planting the seeds. Second movie, Ryan Johnson just doesn't water them and die. Third movie, JJ just like digs up the seeds and like tries to fucking, this could be a plant, maybe this is a plant, but it's fucked.
It's true though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they could have. I mean, Last Jedi's where they really fucked Finn up. But
and Luke.
Apparently there's an extended edition of Rise of Skywalker right now. I was just like, okay.
On Disney Plus?
No, the DVD.
I'm not buying it on DVD.
No, that's what, dude, it's so bad because I bought The Force Awakens on steel bookcase, and I bought The Last Jedi on steel bookcase just because I had The Force Awakens. And I'm like, I gotta buy The Rise of Skywalker steel bookcase, but I walked in, I looked at it, I'm like, $52? I'm not fucking paying that for this fucking shit.
It was a bad movie.
On the floor.
And then the employees at JB Hi-Fi went,
yeah, it was like, one person was like,
yeah.
And then everyone...
The manager walked out and was like, you've done well, sir. Thank you for destroying our property.
Which just is sad because The Last Jedi was clearly the worst movie, but... Yeah.
Well, Mark, we didn't get through a next gen review without talking about the sequel trilogy.
It started off with Mandalorian.
I look forward to the Mandalorian season.
I really do too. I really do too.
Alright, see you cunts later.
Alright, I'm gonna exchange this for a colder one because the flame is.
And I think it's gonna be a long, long time. The touchdown brings me around again to find I'm not the man they think I am. No. I'm a rocket man. Rocket man. Burning out his fuse out here alone. And I think it's gonna be a long, long time. And I think it's gonna be long, long